went for you. Right, the celebration of Navratri, of course, ended this weekend, which was centered on the worship of the Hindu deity Durga. The festival, which lasts for 9 nights, and it's said to mark the battle of good over evil. Hindus everywhere gathered to celebrate by singing, dancing and worshipping their gods. A group in Potter's Bar decided to use the celebrations as an opportunity to put something back into the community. Now, Bunty and Dylan Shah launched Navratri Food Bank Collection to raise much-needed awareness of food banks. Now, 2 food bank collections were held in Birmingham, one at Sri Ram Mandir and the other one at the Sri Gita Bhavan Mandir. And the co-founder of Navratri Food Bank Collection, Bunty Shah, joins me right now. First of all, thank you very much for joining us, Bunty.
You're more than welcome, Ray.
Happy Navratri to you, by the way.
Happy Navratri to you too, Ray.
Thank you very much indeed.
And Namaste West Midlands.
Yeah, well, it's the whole of the Midlands at the moment.
Oh, wow. Wonderful.
It is. So, tell us a bit about the food bank. How does that work?
Okay, a food bank basically provides people in crisis emergency food. They're run by volunteers and non-profitable charities, and it's not government funded. The charity, the Trussell Trust, run the largest network of food banks in the UK, and you'll be surprised to hear, Ray, last year there were around 420 food banks serving the United Kingdom, and around 2 new food banks are open every week to meet the growing demand. A staggering 4.7 million people in the UK live in food poverty, and last year the Trussell Trust served 913,000 people emergency food. I mean, I'm sure you agree, Ray. It's really sad that every day people are going hungry.
Yeah, over 4 million people not having enough.
4.7 million live in food poverty.
That just is crazy, especially for a first world country.
Absolutely. I mean, some of the reasons why they actually turn to food banks is because the recent benefit cuts that you may have heard of in the news, redundancy, rising food costs and fuel costs that you and I can probably sympathise with as well. And just to let you know, I mean, Sagar and I, earlier this year, we took our idea to the Trussell Trust and met with a chap called Mark Ward, who's the head of the fundraising, and they provide us a lot of support with our initiative, and we're proud to have a good working partnership with them. I just want to give you a couple of stats, which is more specific to West Midlands,
sure.
Share with your listeners, which we got from the Trussell Trust just last week. You'll be astonished to know, from April last year to March this year, a massive 93,000 people in the West Midlands were provided with 3 days emergency food. And you'll be horrified to hear 35,000 of those were children.
Shocking.
Absolutely. There's currently 40 food banks that serve the West Midlands, and that's compared to 3 in 2011.
And out of those food banks and the food that they provide, how much of that is coming from the community and how much of that is coming from local or central government?
Right. Well, like I said to you before, these food banks are not funded by the government at all.
Right.
90% of the food donated to the food banks actually comes from the public. The other 10% might come from supermarket collections, etc. But most of them are donated by the food banks.
Yeah.
I mean, as you can see, these statistics I've just quoted are absolutely frightening. And I believe the people of Britain must come together and help their local community.
Well, it certainly seems that way. It seems that, there is a lot of goodwill out there. People are looking after each other. But how did you come up with the idea of linking Navratri and food banks together?
Well, I'm glad you asked me that. Yeah, my son's head teacher, Mr. Cocker, of Cranbourne Primary School in Potter's Bar, did an assembly a couple of years ago, and I remember my son Dylan, who's 9 years old, coming home, and he looked very sad and glum, which is very unlike him. So I kind of sat him down and asked him, what's going on, and he was explaining that he was a bit upset that people where we were living were going hungry, and mentioned food banks. And to be perfectly honest, I had no idea what a food bank was. So that led me to contact my local food bank, and I spoke with a chap called Philip Coffin. Absolutely lovely, and I kind of learnt a bit more about how the food bank works, etc. And I was just completely shocked again, how many people in my local area in Potter's Bar were actually using the food bank. I mean, come on, Ray, you must agree, this is England. It's hard to imagine that people are going hungry, but they are.
Yeah. What sort of things do people bring to your food bank? I mean, is it tin stuff or is it fresh stuff?
I mean, the kind of food that people bring to food banks is non-perishable items, which basically means things that don't go off, such as long-life milk, tin food, cereals, and if the food bank's in a densely Asian populated area, then people might donate dal or rice or things like that, and obviously things like biscuits and pasta.
Yeah, and when we talk about the Asian communities, I'm sure this is true of other communities as well, but I tend to find that we're a bit more reserved. We're a bit bit proud of ourselves, and going for handouts isn't the first thing we run for. Have you found that people are a bit reluctant to come to you for help?
To be perfectly honest, I mean, if I just look at West Midlands, I'm just amazed, how well the West Midlands have embraced our initiative. And, I'm just absolutely overwhelmed, especially, the Sri Gita Bhavan Mandir, as you mentioned earlier,
yeah,
and the Sri Ram Mandir. It's just great to see these people, raising awareness of these food banks that exist in the United Kingdom and giving back to their local community. And, you shouldn't feel any shame going to one of these food banks if you have to feed your children or your family.
Absolutely. Now, of course, Navratri came to an end. It went on for 7 nights. What happens to the food in the food banks? Will the food bank continue to do its good work, or will you be suspending it until next year?
Well, I mean, the Trust that Food Bank Networks obviously still exists. They obviously run during office hours. The great thing about the Navratri initiative that we set up was it allowed people to donate food in the evening, more convenient time, at the same time as enjoying the festivities. And, Sagar and I have absolutely really enjoyed doing this project, and I can't see it ending. I mean, we've already started to have a lot of interest from other community groups that want to work with us. For example, today I had a call from a Saturday Faith School who wanted to work with us about having a food collection at their school. Dylan School is going to be doing a food collection for our food bank during Harvest Festival. And Sagar and I firmly believe, and I must mention this, Ray, we firmly believe that our model can work with any ethnic background or religion, and I think, everybody can participate in our initiative, regardless. And if any of your listeners want to find out a little bit more about us, they can email us at nfbcteam@gmail.com, and you can also find us on Facebook or Twitter.
Yeah, I think you're right, because every single religion does talk about charity, does talk about helping thy neighbour, and all the rest of it. And if people can work together and help out the people that are in need, especially at certain times of the year, that's just brilliant. It's just excellent.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, I mean, what we're trying to do is try and make donating food easier.
Yeah.
So have it at if you're having an event where people are going to gather, in their hundreds or thousands, well, it makes sense to have a food point collection there, and people can just donate food.
Now, you mentioned your son Dylan, who's only 9 years old.
Yep.
Is he with you right now? We'd love to have a word with him.
I give you the phone. I was listening to your show earlier, and you were talking about men fasting. So I'd like to be the first man in England to put my hand up and say, I love my wife, and I'm quite happy to fast next weekend.
Fabulous. So Bunty, you, for Karva Chauth,
yep,
for the well-being of your wife,
yep,
you'll be fasting with your wife.
Next weekend.
Well, there you see, I knew, I have faith in humanity.
To see how many other people in East Midlands will actually join me. Right, I'll just pass you on to Dylan.
Thank you.
Be warned, he loves talking.
Oh, I love talking as well.
Hello, Ray.
Hello, Dylan. How are you, my friend?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
I'm very well indeed. Now, listen, I'm so proud of you. In fact, I'm sure everybody listening to the programme is very proud of you for coming up with this idea of food banks. Now, what made you tell your dad that a food bank was a good idea?
What made me to talk to my dad is that because I was sad and glum, that I wanted to raise more awareness and more food for the people.
Mm. And
it's kind of not fair for them.
Absolutely. Of course, they don't have food, and you don't want them to go hungry. Did you go out with your dad to these food banks?
Yes. Last Saturday, I think, my dad and I went to the food bank and met Philip Coffin, and we kind of talked about food banks, and then I kind of knew more about them.
Wonderful. And did you get a chance to talk to the people who were coming to the food bank to get some free food?
Yeah, I got to talk to them, and it was very nice and wonderful.
That is amazing. Well, Dylan, we're very proud of you. Thank you very much for talking to us. And I hope you have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you, and that's Dylan. Also, Bunty, thank you very much as well. I must say thanks to Sagar as well, who's been involved in this project. And if you want more details, as Bunty just pointed out, you can email them. And if you didn't get a chance to write down the email, I'll give that email out again in a short while. But thank you to both, and thanks to Bunty, thanks to Dylan as well. If you want to talk to us live on the radio, the lines are open. The number, as always, it's 03453 009956. And yes, as you just said there, Bunty is going to be the first man that we know of in the West Midlands who will be fasting next week, Saturday, for Karva Chauth. Anybody else up for it? text 81333, add the letters W and M. Let's see how far we can go with this.